너무 시끄러워요. 너무 시끄러워요. 너무 시끄러워요. 문 닫아요. 스타크래프트에서 소닉TV와 함께하고 있습니다. 7차 사비자리그 4강의 B조 첫 번째 경기인데요. 박준호입니다. 지금 이몽규 결승 다 있고 저그가 올라가냐 프로토스가 올라가냐 이 네오제이드에서의 첫 번째 경기 시작하겠습니다. 박지호 하나 둘 셋. 박준호 하나 둘 셋. 서현지.
Alright, game number 1 of the second semi-final match. This is between Pusan and Killer, two ex-pro gamers. Killer very recently an actual pro gamer. He was on Team 8 for a bit before coming to join us in the amateur scene. And there he is, looking super focused, affectionately known as Mini Dong. And favored by many to win the whole thing. So Pusan's definitely got his work cut out for him here. But let's see what happens. Man, look at him spamming away there. Pusan, meanwhile, also seems pretty focused. A little bit more relaxed, perhaps. I think he looks pretty buff from this angle. I don't know if he actually is or not. Anyway, it's going to be another PvZ. And the winner of this will, of course, face the winner of the last match in the finals, Larva. So I'm really hoping that Killer actually doesn't win and we have an upset here. So we don't have a ZVZ finals. I guess it could be worse. So, okay. Looks like Overlord actually headed towards the middle of the map, so just looking for that probe incoming from either direction. Not going to see anything. Looks like it's going to be a blind 11 next, in fact, from Pusan, exactly as Sky did on this map in his series against Larva, in fact. So it seems to be, I guess it's probably a map thing, since it is very easy to wall on Jade. I suppose players like to do this blind 11 next 11 forge. Now, as I said in that game, this is in fact safe against everything except a 9 pool, or of course a 4 or 5 pool. Even an overpool, even against an overpool, your first cannon will barely be in time to defend yourself. So, pretty solid build. And in any case, it is going to be a 12 hatch from Killer. So, so both players will be absolutely fine. I think the Protoss might be slightly in a slightly better position from this opening, but it's nothing too serious. So, according to Bakuryu, the left side of the forge is actually not tight. That's interesting. Bakuryu's pretty smart, so I believe him. I guess we'll see. It actually does look like there's a gap there, doesn't it? So that could be trouble if Killer decides to do anything silly. But he is just taking his third base at the bottom left natural. Nothing too crazy coming out just yet. Probe scout from Pusan just now going out though, so fairly late scout from him. Seems to be pretty unconcerned about any kind of cheese coming out from Killer. I mean, I suppose, given that, you know, Killer is kind of the better player among these two, you know, not to discredit Pusan, but, you know, Killer is Killer. It's probably less likely that he's going to cheese, especially since, you know, it's also not kind of his style. I mean, if you're playing against Sky, then you definitely don't want to be taking too many risks. But against Killer, it's probably fine. You know, the Pro Scout gonna take a couple of hits before moving over to the Zergy base. Just 2 Zerglings out for Killer. Doesn't need too many to begin with. Just gonna go check out the Protoss base. And might make a couple more links here back at his base just to chase away this Probe Scout. Doesn't want to leave this guy floating around for too long. Of course, you know, with just 2 slowlings, it's almost impossible to actually catch and kill a Probe Scout, but at the very least you kind of force your opponent to you know, spend a bit more attention, a bit more APM, and concentration on the probe rather than just having it freely wandering around. So that every little bit helps. So the probe's going to see if the close third's not taken. It's probably going to assume that it's a faraway natural that's been taken. He's sending out his Zealot now just to put on a bit of pressure. I don't think Killer would mind this too much. Just make a couple extra Zerglings and he'll be fine. I think he's already made them actually. I saw a few more dots moving across the minimap, yeah. So it looks like Pusan is going to pull the Zealot back now. Doesn't want to just throw that away there. Knows that 6 links will take that guy down easy peasy. 4 lings even with good micro will take it down pretty easily. Then we just have the Stargate and Citadel on the main base. Not going to do anything like what Sky did with the double Stargate. I think that was probably more focused towards Larva's style as well, which is more Muta heavy, I suppose. So Killer just now starting his Spire. Probe Scout still alive. That's quite nice. Sees all the timings here, sees when the lair finished. They might even meander over to the natural to see the Spire. Now we actually do have a decent number of Zerglings here, perhaps for a run by into the main base. There are 2 cannons there though, and a Zealot blocking, so I don't think too many Zerglings will be able to make it through there if he does go for that. Note that Pusan hasn't actually scouted the 3rd base yet, but I mean he definitely knows it's there somewhere. But I'm not sure if he would know whether it's at the bottom left or the top right. I mean, I don't know. Either is definitely possible. And there is actually the run by 5 Zerglings, in fact, getting in here with speed finish. I'm a little bit surprised that many got in with 2 cannons. I guess that with that speed done was really helpful, and that's going to be really annoying. There's actually only 1 guy mining the gas on the main now for Pusan. Really wants to fix that ASAPly, I think. But with 2 Zealots out, I don't think he should take too much damage, although he's losing more and more probes here. Oh man, Pusan really not doing a good job defending this, losing like 3 or 4 probes here altogether. I think 4 probes perhaps went down there to that run by. Really, really poor for Pusan, I think there. Not really stacking his probes properly. It's not gonna cost him the game, of course, but not something wants to have happen here against someone of Killer's caliber. He needs every advantage he can get. Meanwhile, Killer just setting up his SimCity at his bases there. And well, looks like after that we're going to have a bit of a calm period here, bit of a calm before the storm while both players macro up a little bit. Neither player really is going to be able to do too much at this point. I mean, looks like Pusan going to poke with these 2 Zealots, but with the Sunken there already, there's nothing he can do. I'm a little bit surprised he actually just committed that Zealot actually. He's just going to lose both of these now for no good reason. I think that was a bit of a mistake there, a bit of a poor reaction time. As soon as he took the first Sunken hit, he should have pulled the Zealots back, and at least then, even if the speed links around him, he could kill a few more lings. You can see he's not happy with himself already. This is really not a good place to be. I mean, you know, even if, you know, strictly speaking, he's not that far behind, it's also a psychological thing. Like, he's making mistakes that maybe he feels like he shouldn't be making, and it's kind of wearing on him a little bit, so that might affect his play also. It's not just, you know, the units or the, you know, the cold hard math. There's a lot of psychological aspect as well. You know, it looks like Killer's actually turtling up quite a bit here, building a spore colony at both of those naturals as well. Just a single Sunken actually at the bottom left. Surprised he didn't have a second one there, considering he's got 2 at his natural. Usually you invest a little bit more to your 3rd, because at your natural here, he would have, you know, all the reinforcements from all 3 hatcheries here, whereas at that bottom left he's got 2 hatcheries worth of units, and it's, you know, closer to the Protoss space as well, so more likely to get attacked. So I'd have maybe preferred that to be switched around, but I guess this is fine. In the meantime, a lot of Scourge actually coming out for Killer. Wow, he's made a ton of Scourge. Was Pusan? Yeah, Pusan was going courses actually. I was not paying attention at all. So actually 6 courses coming out. They don't actually have +1 yet though, which is a little bit concerning. And oh man, he's going to take a couple of hits here immediately. But it looks like the rest of the Scourge didn't quite come in at the good angle. And now Pusan actually I think saw those, so he's going to move back now, trying to take his 3rd, but that's not going to happen here. Nice little deny by Killer with those speedlings. Just 1 DT there to protect, but that's not going to be enough to stop those speedlings. Meanwhile, Killer now taking his 4th base at the bottom left. This is actually very good because with those links, he saw that Pusan was trying to take a 3rd, so he knows that Pusan's not going for some kind of crazy 2-base all-in, you know, mass gateway pump. So he can feel pretty safe about taking that 4th, especially since he's turtling up as well anyway. So yeah, the Killer, I think, in a perfect spot right now. Everything kind of going his way so far. There's the 3rd base finally going up, and the lane's going to back up, and Killer really doesn't care about this because he's got his 4th base started anyway. So looks like both players actually content to play a longer game here. No super aggression coming out like we kind of saw in the last series. Bit of a calmer approach. Although we do have a lot of links here at the natural once again. Perhaps trying to run in and snipe some High Templar, I think. But it looks like Killer wasn't quite paying attention, so maybe missed an opportunity there to even run into the main. And now a bunch of Corsairs coming over. They're going to see the 4th base here, see the 2 hatches. That's a lot of Corsairs there. It's going to be very difficult. And you have +1 now as well, by the way. So it's going to be difficult even with a lot of Scourge to do anything here. He's going to have to get a good surround. Although I do see a lot of Scourge coming in from the back. And here we go. That's exactly the angle he wanted, but I don't think he got that many. He cleared away some of the Corsairs. It's hard to tell because the Corsairs are still stacked, but it looks like there's at least 4 or 5 still left there. And Killer's continuing to make a lot of Scourge here. But it's not too bad. I mean, you know, his 4th gas is about to get online, so even though he's using a lot of gas for those Scourge, it's not the biggest deal in the world, and, you know, he can kind of balance it out by just, you know, making all those hatches and drones and using his minerals on that and Scourge, and then just kind of chilling behind his SimCity and his static defenses there. Yeah, just a couple of lurkers and a bunch of sunkens, and he'll be absolutely fine. So really playing this Turtle Zerg style here is super annoying for Protoss to deal with. Yeah, absolutely no way for Pusan to really do anything about this in the meantime. I mean, if he wants to attack this, the best option is probably to do some kind of, you know, drop on the bottom left 4th there. Maybe some kind of DT drop there since he's got all his Corsairs up. That's a very common move. Or, you know, if he wants to play more passively and he's confident in his late game, he can just expand a bit more aggressively, because with all these static defenses, there's no way Zerg's going to have any kind of standing army here. I mean, Killer's basically saying, you can have map control, and I'll just, you know, turtle up and get my economy up, and he's just gotten double evolution chambers and a hive as well, so he's really focusing on the late game here. So Pusan, I really feel, should maybe just take a 4th base, you know, or I mean, looks like he's going for some harassment now, but there's no way to actually attack those bases head on, so there's no, you know, don't want to waste your effort doing that. A lot of times if the Protoss player gets too antsy and just tries to attack into that, he can just waste away all his army. It looks like a lot of Scourge coming in, trying to take down the shuttle, actually getting annihilated by the Corsairs here. Looks like there is the drop going in, 2 DTs, more Scourge coming out, but all getting taken down here. There's an Overlord there. It looks like a Sunken Colony probably on the way, but actually it's going to be an elevator here. Zealot's actually now being elevated in. The DTs forcing the drones off the line here. 1 Lurker coming back. I don't think there's any observers here, so the 1 Lurker should keep the base alive at least, the hatchery alive, but this attack could be effective, maybe. I don't know. The DT's still doing a lot of damage in the mineral line here. Not that many units pulled back just yet for Killer, and I don't see what happened to the DT. Presumably it died. The Lurker is down now, but that's actually a decently effective attack, although it looks like now he's got a few units stranded on the inside. I don't actually know if Killer realizes those are there. I don't think he even has enough the units to really deal with it anyway, even if he wanted to. But oh, we might have a storm drop here at the 3rd base. The drones are immediately being pulled off. Scourge are flying around trying to take down the shuttle, but they can't do it. The drones are all off here. The Scourge are trying to go in here. Looks like 2 Scourge do get past. It is a slow shuttle. He needs to drop everything now. He needs to drop. He drops 1 High Templar. There's a few drones transferring. He does try to get them, but doesn't really get anything. Gets a single drone only. Oh man, the Corsairs weren't in position to defend the last couple of Scourge, or perhaps he could have gotten a good storm off there. So that wasn't quite as effective. And meanwhile, you know, Killer just massing up and teching up here. His hive is done, his Defiler Mound is done, and presumably he is getting double upgrades there. Melee and Carapace, I would imagine, as that's what you get when you go for the late game focus. You know, by the way, that there was a robo position there at the natural, so for now that's just making observers, but later in the late game, the super late game, he can actually transition into Reavers and start pumping those out as natural as well. That'd be quite nice. Meanwhile, these Zealots actually moving in here. I don't know why they're focusing the lower hatchery and not the higher one, which would be more useful, since that would slow down the gas mine here. So they got the bottom hatchery, but that was primarily a macro hatchery, so I think that's a bit confusing to me. But meanwhile, Pusan is actually moving into the natural here as well, while all the units were away and focused on defending against those Zealots. He's actually actually moved in here the front. The Lings coming in from behind, but getting stormed into oblivion. The Lurker's completely out of position. However, there's a good Sim City there. He needs the Dragoons to move forward and take down the sunken colonies. The Zealots cannot reach the sunken colonies. He needs the Dragoons to do it for him. He needs the Dragoons to range everything from the other side. Looks like a few more Lings coming out. The drones trying to block everything, doing a really good job. Lings coming in from the back as well. More units coming in from the back, but Pusan has got a ton of Dragoons left here, although it looks like no more Storms remaining and no more Zealot support. There's more Lurkers coming in from the back, but the Dragoons will do very well against the Lurkers without any supporting Lings or Hydras, although it looks like now the Lings are coming in, and this attack has been foiled. Looked for a second there like Pusan might break through, but wasn't quite enough, and that actually turned out to be very costly for Pusan instead. Just threw away his entire ground army trying to break that there, the expensive Protoss ground army, so now he's back to a very small looking army here, and Killer's already well into hive tech here. He's got all his tech up, so now Killer's going to be able to, you know, have this nice comfortable 4-base economy. He's got all his tech, he can start really putting the hurt on Pusan. Pusan, I think, I'm not sure if I liked all that aggression here. I mean, you know, anyone who's watched my streams know that I prefer the passive style of play. That's just like my style, to go into the late game just to expand more. I mean, I can't really fault Pusan for trying that there. It almost worked, but unfortunately now he's just put himself into a really tricky spot here. Looks like now he's moving towards the top right, thinking about taking a 4th base. But I think now it's a little bit late, because now Killer's already got all his hive tech up, and that's going to be super super deadly. You know, basically what's going to happen now is Killer's going to be really cost efficient, making a lot of Lings and using a few Defilers here to support them, and just make really cost efficient attacks until he saved up a decent amount of money, and suddenly he's just going to make like 50 Ultralisks and just A-move his way to victory. As you can see here, you know, sometimes it's a bit misleading for the Protoss players. Say, oh, you know, just making a bunch of Zerglings, that should be fine, and you think you're holding on for a while, but really, it's just a matter of time before the Zerg overruns you with Ultras. And oh my god, that is an obscene number of Cracklings here. They might actually focus down this Nexus. They're actually getting close. The Nexus, no Defiler support there. If there was a Defiler there, the Nexus might have gone down. Meanwhile, though, another drop at the bottom left actually looks like it's doing a decent amount of damage. The High Templar, though, has no kills, unfortunately. Just gonna grab a few gas drones there before some reinforcing units come in. So Killer with a really great reaction time. Oh man, that's a trillion drones there at that natural. It'd be really cool if he had another shuttle there to storm drop that, but unfortunately does not. But he has established a 4th base now at the top right natural. He's got a good number of units that are protecting it. He's building a bunch of cannons. Note that those won't be too effective now that Defilers are out. He's going to have to build some Reavers or maybe leave some High Templars there to help defend that. Once you go to the late game and the Zerg has Defilers, the cannons actually become more of a buffering building, so it's not so much you're not looking so much for their damage output as just for them to absorb hits while your Reavers and High Templars do all the damage to the Zerg. Now it looks like another shuttle is moving out here. Is it just me or does he have shuttle speed? I think he actually has shuttle speed. A plague on the army. Unfortunately, the Protoss is actually red on the map, so it doesn't look quite as impressive as it might otherwise. Looks like it's a middling plague there, getting a handful of units. Not the best plague, but that's alright. I mean, energy on Defilers is basically infinite, since you can just consume Zerglings. So you can just plague as much as you want. And Pusan just trying to move around the map here. Killer's just still running around with just a few Zerglings, as I said, just being very, very cost efficient here, just being super annoying, buying some more time, saving up money before he can, pump out a swell of Ultralisks or whatever the hell else he wants. And is now taking the 9 o'clock base as well. Going up to 5 bases, but with this base established, and you can see the Robo there, so he's going to start pumping out Reavers, as I said he should, but he can also get that top right base for free at the moment, although later on the Zerg obviously will be able to get drops very easily, since he probably, he's already got speed for his Overlords and get drops, and then that base will be maybe a little bit vulnerable to that. For the time being, that is safe. And Pusan still has some semblance of map control here. He's still walking around the map with a decent-ish army. Looks like going for another drop somewhere. I'm not quite sure. This might be... No, it looks like he's going towards the Zerg's 3rd. It looks like... Oh, it does get spotted by a couple of Overlords, though. So Killer should be able to get his drones out in time. The drone's doing a bit of a roundabout here. It does have speed now, the shuttle, and the Scourge actually went the wrong way. The drones are all there. It looks like one of the Templars... Oh, the 2nd Templar doesn't get out. That would have been beautiful. The drone train was right there. Oh, he does get the gas drones there. He gets a few Scourge, but doesn't quite get it. The Hydralisks do block him. However, that shuttle, I think, did show him that this base was being taken, so he's now moving his main army in to take it. A few Dark Swarms there. A big plague actually hitting all the Observers as well as the Zealots. Storms blanketing everything. Storms, of course, just do full damage anyway. They don't care about Dark Swarms. And actually, this base might even go down here. Killer just didn't actually have enough time to actually establish this, although it looks like that lurker is being quite a pain in the butt. However, the Protoss actually, the army here is not that big, so he might get this base, but in exchange he might lose a few of these units. It looks like, whoa, stick dodging! One more storm, one more storm! Ah, one more! You need one more! Oh, he doesn't quite get all of them, but does get a good hit there on the main. And actually, Pusan doing some sick multitasking here, really pushing Killer to the limits. I mean, Pusan now has got 4 bases up. Killer has lost his 9 o'clock, but Killer looks like he has taken the 6 o'clock base as well here. Just a crazy late game going on here. One thing that slightly concerns me is the army composition of the Protoss is not ideal yet. He doesn't have very many Archons. He doesn't seem to have Reavers in the army. He's got a couple of Reavers defending the base, but really once you go to the late game, you really need more Archons and more Reavers to compete with the Zerg. Otherwise, you're just going to get plagued and swarmed into oblivion. Those Defilers, man, they are deadly. Meanwhile, looks like Killer's established a good position on the high ground here. It will be difficult for Pusan to actually attack this. I don't know if that'll be the best idea necessarily. There's no Defilers here, though. I'm a bit concerned by that. Killer basically rushed for Hive Tech, and yet has not really been making the best use of it. I mean, he's kind of plagued a couple of times, kind of met plagues and swarmed a couple of times to defend the 9 o'clock, but it went down anyway. I mean, he's got no swarms here. But it looks like the Observers, though, getting taken down. Pusan making a bit of a mistake running him forward with those Observers. It looks like he got Observer speed, actually. So just by A moving forward, the Observers kind of led the charge and got taken out. I think they were plagued already as well. It looks like some of his units are also just running to the side here, just kind of poor army control here by Pusan. So Pusan actually losing the majority of his forces here in the middle of the map. He is taking the top right main, though, so he is also going up to 5 bases, basically going up to even bases with the Zerg. Oh no! Disgustingly good storms there as the Zerg army just walks forward in a line. Man, killing so many units. Unfortunately, though, for Pusan, he just doesn't seem to have very much, even at his natural. No reinforcements here. I guess just failing on the macro a little bit. I think he just lost that shuttle as well. So, is Killer actually just going to walk into the natural here? That's very surprising to me. I mean, maybe Pusan got a little bit greedy taking that top right main already. He didn't have actually enough army left anywhere. He's got no standing force on the map right now. He's just got defensive units. I don't know what's going on with him anyway. It looks like Killer's going to transfer some drones over to that fresh base at the 6 o'clock. I think that Overlord, I don't know if that's quite in range of that Nexus, but he just needs to scoot over a little bit more. Oh, he's actually going to drop in there, though, so I think he probably knows. I don't think Pusan should actually try to defend the top right main. He's not mining from it yet, so he can just sack the Nexus and just try and hold on to his 4 bases. He doesn't actually strictly need that base, considering he's got the 4 mining bases already. But it looks like he's going to send a few units back. He actually does have enough units back there. Oh no! The probe transfer gets caught, though! The probe transfer gets caught! There are 2 Reavers and the High Templar there, so I don't think these Hydras can actually break this. They're going to take down these Reavers, though, because Pusan was not paying attention. It looks like, nope, the second Reaver does get saved. That's actually quite crucial there. He needs at least 1 Reaver there to deal with that Dark Swarm. But, and actually, wait, Pusan actually does save the top right base there, so even though I said he doesn't need to worry about it, I mean, you know, Killer actually didn't drop more units there. I thought Killer would drop a few more units there, you know, just drop like a control group of Hydras and take it down, but actually, Killer's more focused on actually busting the front, which, probably not a good idea there. Very narrow chokes at the naturals on this map. And so with all those cannons there to buffer and, you know, the Reavers behind, it's very difficult to actually attack into that. Meanwhile, it looks like Pusan's macroed up an army again, and it's going to move against the 6 o'clock position, although a big army of Zerg is moving in to reinforce this, to intercept the Protoss army, and I don't think this is going to work out. The Observer's getting scourged immediately. Pusan's army control is a little bit lacking here, it seems. He's been doing good multitask harass and whatnot, but, you know, at the end of the day, you can do all the harass in the world, and you still need to be able to, you know, win the straight-up engagements, the army battles here. Even if you kill all his drones, but you don't have an army, that's not going to win you the game. And Pusan once again getting pushed back. He's actually losing a lot of these very expensive High Templars here. Really does not want to be losing these. At the very, you know, needs to keep them alive to make the Archons, and just save the gas here. Those are so expensive to be losing rather. He also lost all those probes earlier on. Looks like, oh man, he's transferring through lurkers again. I think this time they might get a few through. Just because the lurkers aren't actually in position to block those probes. So loses a handful of probes, but does get some through this time. And it's becoming kind of a split map situation, but again, Pusan just has no army on the map. I mean, just look at the minimap right now. Killer has complete map control. And I really think he should just drop into the top right. I don't think he needs to bust the front there. And what? Pusan just GG's! Pusan just GG's out of the game! He can't take it anymore. He realizes that he can't hold on to the top right base, and he just gives up, and Killer takes game number 1.